Hello everybody. I just recently bought a motorized bike kit and I want to tell you some problems and stuff and how to get it working properly, like how I did. So let's start off. So I got the bike for this motorized bike kit on Craigslist for around $15. And if you need a bike, it needs to be 26 inches and it needs to be a V-style frame. And I bought the kit on Amazon for around $120, and it came with all of this stuff. And I could link that in the description if you want to see. So installing the kit was pretty simple. All you needed was a few tools to set it up with the motor, the gas tank, the clutch, the throttle, and yeah, you could just watch a video on that. But we've had some problems getting it running, and we could tell you that. So the first problem we had when we got it running is it wasn't compressing. So in the engine block right here where the piston is held, it wasn't compressing, and so we took it off and we found that there was a blown gasket on the piston head. So we needed to replace the gasket so it could start to compress, and the gasket blew because one of these bolts that were connecting into the engine was bent, so it wasn't tightened properly. So we needed to get a new gasket for that. And we also found inside the piston, the two piston rings, one of them was cracked, so it wasn't fully moving up and down, and it would get stuck and the engine wasn't moving properly. So we bought one of those and it started working fine. But after that, we started having some problems. Like, one of the main problems was the chain kept falling off. And so when me and my dad put the chain on, we didn't have the chain tensioner, and it was very loose, so it kept falling off. And then we put the chain tensioner on, and now it's really tight, so it won't fall off anymore. And then we got a new spark plug too. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called the Champion. Here, let me get it real quick. It's called the Champion CJ7Y, I think. But it's been working great, and we've had no problems. And then it's pretty simple to set it up. And with the throttle cable, you need to basically attach the throttle to your handlebars. And from the throttle cable, there's a little pin that connects into the cable. And then the cable leads all the way down to the carburetor, and you install it into the carburetor here. And there's also a pin in the carburetor, the needle pin. And so if you're a higher altitude or lower altitude, the top of the pin, there's a little clip that you can move to make it more lean, and the bottom is more rich, depending on your oxygen level, if you're like high altitude or low altitude. And I'm a high altitude, so I needed it closer to the top to make it leaner so it would run better. And then some other problems we were having was the exhaust. So the exhaust, it connects to these two bolts right here connecting into the engine block, and so it comes with a nut and some washers. And so whenever I would use it, it would vibrate the washers off, and then I'd keep tightening them, and then it eventually stripped the two bolts, And so what we did is we took the bolts out and put new bolts in so it wasn't stripped, and we kept tightening them down and it wouldn't work. So what we did is we just put some lock nuts on there to make sure it keeps tight and everything. And so basically it's pretty fun from when we've got it, and we fixed all the problems and it works great now. And you need to use a fuel mixture of 2-cycle and gasoline oil. And the break-in period is the first 3 or 4 tanks of gas, and it's a 16-to-1 ratio of oil to fuel. And then after that, you run around 25-to-1 of break-in of oil to fuel. And it's been running very fun. And as you can see, it's kind of dirty because I've been doing some off-roading. But also the bike is very vibraty. So I'd recommend wearing some gloves so it keeps the vibrations down, because in the handles it really starts to vibrate and it gets kind of irritating on your hands. And also the seat gets kind of vibrating, so I put this little seat cover on to cut down on the vibrations. And other than that, it's been working fine. It starts up very nicely, but every once in a while, if I leave it overnight, it needs to you need to mess with the choke, and the choke is right here. You need to mess if you don't, and the choke is the air intake right here, and it needs to be up on a cold start, which you haven't ran it in a while, and it needs to be down on a warm start so the air and fuel ratio could be good. And also a big part of the engine and the carburetor is the idle right here. So this is the idle screw, and the high idle is basically there's a lot of fuel going into your carburetor or into your engine. So if it's like a really high, like sound, you need to loosen the carburetor. But if it's really low and not enough power, you need to tighten it in a bit more. And the ballpark is about a few centimeters, like 5 or so, of the spring showing. And yeah, also when you're riding, some of the screws fall out. Like this screw on the clutch plate fell out. So if that happens, just look for some screws lying around and put it back in, and it should hold tightly. And so far the bike has been running great. It's been very fun. It's going around 20-30 miles an hour. And it's been very cool riding it. And for the price I got it for, I think it's worth it because it can go really fast and it's just really cool to have and to ride around. And there wasn't much problems with it. And if there's any problems that you guys have, you could just write them down in the comments. I could try to answer them. And yeah, so thanks for watching. And if there's anything else you need, just write in the comments below.